Hi, my name is David. I own and operate Country Whatnot Gardens here outside of Rochester, Indiana, which is about an hour south of the Michigan state line. I grow 25 different species and varieties of bamboo, and we're here on Thursday, January 25th, 2024. It'll actually be Friday by the time you see this because I got to get it uploaded and everything. But we're going to be looking at some winter damage. We just had below freezing temperatures from January 12th, I believe, to the 22nd. I looked at the weather data. And part of those days we were actually sub-zero Fahrenheit. The coldest I seen, I think, was officially it was at negative 8.86 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, during that stretch, we had winds between 5 and 10 mile an hour. I think we had a little bit, small stretch where it was 12. We did have, during some lesser sub-zero temperatures, -5 or so. I believe I saw some wind in the 26 to 30 mile an hour range. I had looked up that data on the past dates online, and I think that's what it was, the best I can recall. And behind me here is Phylostachys bessettii, and we can see that the foliage looks decent right now, but we have had rain. Now, immediately following the sub-zero temperatures and the drying winds that desiccated this grove, these leaves were tied up, or were curled up just tight as needles. And since we've gotten the rain, they have uncurled. Now, that doesn't mean that this foliage is okay. It just means that it hasn't turned yet. I suspect as soon as we get past this rainy spell and it dries out once again, that these leaves will again display the characteristics of desiccated foliage. We can see the color is a bit off. It will probably start going splotchy. But what happens is, after desiccation, it ruins the plant's pathways where it would be taking up water from the root system to rehydrate the plant. Now, the plant can still take on moisture from an external source such as rain, which is what we've been having since the cold system moved out. But just because it's taking on water from an external source through a foliar method doesn't mean that its pathways from the root up are working. So these leaves are probably actually, even though they look green yet, are probably actually dead and desiccated. We'll see when it comes up. But a number of the bamboos out here, bessettii included, immediately after that desiccation, had that hay smell that I've talked about in other videos. They smell exactly like dried hay. Now that this rain has moved in, that dry hay smell is gone, and it's replaced by more of a cut lawn smell, more of like a green grass rather than a dry hay type smell. In particular, this grove of Phylostachys nuda is very pungent right now. It's somewhat between cut grass and almost that frozen salad smell that you get if your salad has accidentally frozen in the crisper drawer of your fridge. So I think nuda is definitely toast. Rubber marginata here, it's probably gone. It most often top kills. I'm going to pause the video for a minute and while I walk to the other end of the garden and show you some other bamboos down there. I'll be right back. Here, on the way to the other end of the garden, I wanted to stop by this Pseudosausa japonica tsutsumiyana and show it to you that even it, being a lesser hardy bamboo, still has not turned yet. It's still got that green color to it. Here we have, still displaying its nice, beautiful variegation, is Hibano Bambusa tranquillans Shirashima. It's not yet dried out yet from the desiccation. The rain has plumped those cells in the leaves back up. Those cells are still capable of taking on water just because that's what they're designed to do. It doesn't mean they're getting water from the root system or that those leaves are, the leaves themselves are recovering from the windburn. Now, we don't know about top kill yet because just as you cut a tree and it stays green for a while after you cut it, because it takes time for that cellulose fiber to dry out, we don't know about top kill yet with the bamboo because it takes time for those culms to turn tan, just like it would take time for a green tree to dry out before you could use it for firewood or such. Right here we have Sasa oshidensis, still looking green and beautiful. Whether it will after we get past this rainy spell or not, that remains to be seen. we did not have our usual snow cover that we get in January to help insulate things. Usually those shorter, broader leaf bamboos are really good at collecting snow on their leaves, which insulates them from the cold weather, the wind, so forth. Back there behind me, you can see Endocalamus tessellatus. We'll go get a closer look at it, the big leafed bamboo right down there. Still green. I suspect that it probably will turn as soon as we get past this rainy spell, because like I was saying, these leaves are currently taking on water from an external source by a foliar means. So it doesn't mean that they're taking it up through the root system. It doesn't mean that the pathways through the stem, through the petiole, to the leaf are still working and active and undamaged. It just means that the cells in those leaves are still capable of plumping up from water and uncurling those leaves, because that's what those cells are designed to do. They get hit with water, they absorb, they swell, the leaf opens. Here we have Saucimorpha borealis right there, still green and beautiful. Now it does remain usually green for us. That's why I put in a previous video that I did on that one, beautiful lush foliage year round, because typically that's the way it is. Not that it can't top kill, it's just that it usually doesn't. But we're coming up here to the Macon clone of our native Arundinaria gigantea. And you can see it's got some tan windburn. It kind of had some weathered leaves before. But this one, all through the winter, the weather that we had, that system, when I could get out here. I couldn't get out here some days because the ice just made it too dangerous. But during that cold spell, even in the midst of it, we had a lot of good foliage left on this grove yet. So I suspect when this rain is done and over with and things dry out, that we should still have a good bit of good foliage on that one. Now, that one, the Macon clone, is such that it can windburn and it can drop leaves, but the culms typically bud back out in the spring with new foliage, the same culms. It's not so much like an exotic Phyllostachys species where you get that cold and it's a fine line between windburn and top kill. Now down south with Phyllostachys, they get winter damage in 3 stages because their temperatures are more moderated a little bit typically. Maybe not so much this winter, because I think the whole nation pretty much was blanketed in that winter system. But down south they will get windburn followed by twig damage and then top kill. Up here we don't get such a fine difference between temperatures. If we get a top killing temperature, or excuse me, if we get a wind burning temperature, it's probably going to be enough to top kill it too. There's not that fine degree of margin between stages up here. Behind me we have Phyllostachys atravaginata, and I will say that during the worst of it, the worst of that winter system, these leaves were curled really tight as needles on a lot of the grove. But back over here on the east side of the grove, we did have a good bit of foliage that was not curled. So it will be interesting to see as time goes by here how much of this foliage actually stays green and hydrated once this rain system moves out. And like I say, once this rain system moves out, then the damage is going to be more apparent, because those leaves are no longer going to be receiving moisture from an external source by a foliar means. So we will be able to tell and better assess. And two, this grove of Atravaginata did not completely top kill last winter. So it could be that it doesn't again this winter. Time will tell once this rain system moves out. But the rain, after such a drying event, after all that desiccation, the rain does help, even if the foliage is no longer any good, because it could be that it could rehydrate these plants enough to where those culms, the same culms, could rebud out in the spring. Not necessarily save these leaves, maybe not necessarily all the culms, but it could happen, because right over here we have this culm of Atravaginata. Let me turn my camera around here. Right here, that was an old culm that wind burnt last year and rebudded last spring. You can see the twig damage at the end. This is what twig damage looks like, but it rebudded right here. And you can see the foliage on a wind burnt and rebudded culm is more sparse than, say, the new shoots that it puts up. This was a new shoot last year right here, and you can see how dense and how much more rich the foliage is on that. And then over here we have one of the Aurora sulcata clones, Phylostachys aurora sulcata harbin inversa. And it was curled pretty tightly during that winter system as well. So I suspect this one will probably be another growth that's desiccated. Now, like Atravaginata over there, this one also had a culm here and there last year that did not completely top kill. You can see it had top damage here, which is, top damage is kind of like extreme twig damage, I could say. It's more than the twigs, but it's not a total top kill. But it rebudded last spring. So it could be that the damage might not be too severe. What happened was we had below freezing temperatures from, I believe it was the 12th through 22nd. And along that time, part of that time, it was -8, verging on -9. With, during the worst of that, only, I think it was 5 to 12 mile an hour wind, if I remember right. Last year, we had -9 with 40 mile an hour sustained winds, I believe it was, with higher gusts, miles per hour. So the top kill last year was more of a instant type event. This year, it was more of a, I'll call it a slow burn. It happened more so over the course of weeks. And but we had rain before the winter system, and we're receiving rain now after. So that's a plus. I mean, it can help. Whether it will help enough or not in time, that remains to be seen. Because I do suspect that a lot of these groves will probably at least drop their foliage within the next month and a half, maybe slightly longer. Time will tell, and I'll continue to do updates species by species as this time goes on. So I hope that shows that even after a top killing event, if you get rain, the groves can still look very lush and green, but it can be deceptive. What will happen is that as time goes by, any leaves that are burnt will take on a mottled appearance. And you can see, let's see, let me get right up there. We go. I don't know if it's focusing or not. Okay, right there. That's what I'm talking about. That it's green, but still kind of yellow. It's mottled. It's dappled. It's patchy. And that's not a live leaf. It can still look green and it can still look good, but when this rain system moves out, that will show the true results of that winter system that we received. So anyway, I really appreciate you joining me for this. Like, subscribe, and share if you liked it. I appreciate it. Until next time, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.